Going live. Oh, okay. Maybe we are already live. I think we are.
I think we're live. That little red button says we're live.
And we are, yes, alive. Hello, everybody. We are very excited to be with you again today. And yeah, as always, we just welcome you here for this 15 minutes to reset and relax with Arlene and me.
Great to be here.
So what we thought to start with today, as always, is just to do a little bit of mindful arriving into our bodies and minds, because we always find it very, very important that, you know, we spend this next 15 minutes being as conscious as possible.
And that's about noticing, being aware, being available for the present moment, noticing that this time is now and what you did before and what you'll do after. We can keep in a special place so we can expand our present moment and dive deeper in and to enjoy, to take advantage of even better, something that can make a difference in your life.
Indeed, especially when you have a busy work day and, you know, everything is up in the air. Maybe you are angry, frustrated, maybe you're just so busy and overwhelmed that you're not exactly sure what to do. This is the perfect time you can actually give yourself.
And it's sometimes people might think or even make an excuse that they can't take time right now because they're trying to force their task on. However, 15 minutes of a rest can make all the difference in your productivity. That's brain science, basically. So try it out.
Yeah. So let's get you started with just closing your eyes if you're comfortable with it. If not, then just look at the tip of your nose. And as you are doing that, I'm going to invite you to, first of all, straighten up your posture, because maybe you are sitting a little bit hunched forward, and we often forget to work, that we have to work against gravity. So I'm going to invite you to really straighten up, so you're gently tucking your chin under. So the top of the head is the one that's pointing up, and you are lengthening through your neck muscles. So from that, you're going to bring your shoulders together at the back pocket, as we call, and you drop it down so you can feel that your rib cage is being elevated slightly. And this is going to help you to breathe deeper, to feel better. Because very often we actually, as we're hunching forward, we put ourselves into a more depressed, a more anxious mental state. And by changing our physical bodies, our posture can instantly make us feel a bit better. And with that, I'm going to invite you to go back and focus on your breathing again, and just notice that as you straightened up your posture, how easier it might feel to breathe at this moment. What is that you are noticing as you are inhaling and exhaling? Just observe it. And maybe you notice that your breathing is quite fast. Maybe you are observing that your breathing is shallow, mostly into your chest. But right now, just observe yourself like you would observe someone else breathing. No judgment, not saying it's right or wrong. It's just simply observing it subjectively, objectively. And then I'm going to invite you to really notice your mental space and notice if your thoughts are running around in your head and you're still thinking about what you have to do after this meeting or what you haven't done before this mini session with us. Just observe it. And if that's the case, I'm actually going to this time invite you to list those things that are running through your mind. And as you created that list, put it in a bag. And put that bag outside of your door. You can get all those things back, all those rushing thoughts, but we are inviting you to be present here with us in your mind, in your body. And if you still feel like you need a little bit more calmness, a little bit more mindfulness, once again, just notice the rest of the thoughts that's still running around. Once again, grab those as well, put them also in the same bag, and close the door. You don't need those right now. Right now, give yourself this time as a gift to be present. And take 3 conscious breaths in and out. And notice what has changed for you ever since we started in this just last few minutes. And once you took your 3rd breath, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes. Welcome back. And what we are going to talk about today is, that's right, the power of writing. So we just thought that when it comes to working out issues, what personally I work with over many years, ever since I was a child, I always loved keeping diaries. And for a few years, I've noticed that instead of writing diaries, sometimes I would be writing a digital diary. But when I am writing a digital diary, somehow, especially if I do it on my phone, it doesn't give me the same release, the same kind of feeling that, hey, I'm doing actually the right work here with my mind. It kind of just feels like I am writing something, but I'm not being able to be as creative. I'm not having the true breakthroughs and work out wherever that issue is. I don't know. What about you, Arlene? Like, have you tried to use like the power of writing on your computer or on a piece of paper?
I definitely experienced the same thing as writing for me, which I do practically all day on the computer, messages by WhatsApp. That's one thing. I think it's anchored in my mind. It's a work thing. It's about communicating outside. And the writing, well, I still write for work too. Like you can see, this is my notebook and all my scribbling every day. And I scribble and I like to write and I like to check them out. That's just for a more task-oriented thing. But I remember there are 2 times when we were in personal development, we always have to talk with our colleagues, because now today is reminding me of the importance of it. I have a little notebook beside my bed that I haven't been writing on. There's periods where I've written absolutely every day. One period was during the pandemic, where I decided to go through the Course of Miracles. So I did literally for 365 days, I did the Course of Miracles, which has 365 lessons. And I listened to 2 different professors on video, and I would write every single day to transfer that knowledge, through my body, to my hand, to the paper, to be able to read those words again. And the other time, that was 1 year and a few months ago, as an intervention, I had physical symptoms. And I was having like upset stomach, like dysbiosis. And, I did the treatment that should work. And I go, why is this still here? What's going on? And so in NLP, we say that every symptom is a communication. I wasn't getting the communication. So I decided to do a very intense marathon dive into the subject. For every day for a week, I just started writing out an unconscious flow, what was going on. And the insight that I had is that even though I'd never done it before in my life, it was time for me to get off the wall in my mind about indecision and to buy an apartment, something I'd never done in my life. So it was the most incredible. It was the best I've ever been able to interpret a symptom, because sometimes our symptoms are really symbolic and they're hard to understand. It was the best experience I ever had to be able to interpret. It wasn't obvious at all. But since I just sat down and wrote, it helped me make the connections of the things that I'd read recently and heard recently that was all bundling up inside of me for me to have some kind of insight. I'm not sure I could have gotten it if I had not written it. I don't know if it would have come out in a coaching session or in a therapy session. It was just all bundled up inside of me, and the writing helped me get it out. How about you? How does that work with you?
Yeah, I know, right? It's such an interesting way to access, I kind of feel like, our unconscious mind and our unconscious powers. And I really do feel like that, especially in the technology that we have available, it really forces us to shut off that part of our brain and not to be accessed. I actually have a friend of mine, and I was talking to him about a year ago. And we're talking about a 38-year-old guy. So, not even someone in their early 20s or, teens or whatever. And he said to me, like, I actually haven't written anything by hand for years. And it just really shocked me, because I was like, how is that even possible? But clearly it is possible. But that's why I feel like that I think it's such an important topic to talk about and encourage people to go back and use the paper and use the pen and the pencil and write, to be able to access parts of our brain in a simple way that, maybe you don't even need a therapist. You don't need, a coach or anybody. You literally just start writing and it's just going to happen and it's going to flow, as you said, Arlene, right? So
it's amazing what comes out, because once I had the pen, I like to, it's funny, everybody does their own way. I like to have pretty notebooks that appeal to me. And I have this thing where I want to do it with a mechanical pencil, because I like the feeling of the lead scratching on the paper. And I don't want it to be one of these pencils, because I have to sharpen it, because I like to be sharp. So it's like all these little things that this mechanical pencil, and they're colorful plastic ones. And so it's a ritual to do it. And I do it kind of like, it's like I'm hugging my notebook when I do it. So it's pretty physical for me to do that. It's like a comfort thing. And so sometimes if I write it down, I look at some of those phrases, I go, oh my God, look at that phrase. But I asked for it to come out. And when we put it on paper, it's a natural dissociation, because we are here looking at something that's on the paper. And so that creates a different perspective just in having done that. So this is a very good practice. So simple to do, simple tools.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you ask us, like, how to get started or how to even create a change, I think, I don't know, Arlene, if you agree with me, but I would just simply say, like, grab that pen and paper and start asking yourself questions. For example, what are the 3 things that you are grateful for today? And instead of just like even thinking about what are those 3 things that you're grateful for, but actually write it down. And I kind of feel like that once you start answering various questions, so you could also ask yourself, like, or tell yourself, like, to describe a peaceful place or a moment that brings you, the feeling of peace and serenity. And so once you start even writing down what that place looks like for you, you're actually going to start changing the state of your mind. And
does.
that's like, I feel like coloring books, right? Another really similar example why they are so calming, because once again, we're going back to our childhood and accessing areas that we haven't played with and haven't accessed for so long.
Yeah, we can give ourselves prompts. There's always the prompts about, you can write down your favorite quote of the day. And there's so many things that we actually access. I access the internet a lot. I go to Instagram, I go to YouTube and things like that. And you can access some quote that caught your attention, and then you write about the quote. How did that quote get your attention? You write your own words about that. That's another kind of prompt that you can do. The what are you grateful for are great prompts. And there's also the future, the future creation, the envisioning that you write down. And there's also segment intending, something very practical for the day. If something's coming up, like some kind of meeting, you can write out how the meeting goes. Just write it out by hand. And that helps you get into the proper state to have a good meeting or anything else that you want to go well on that day. So it doesn't have to be so far up into the future. It can be a little bit of writing about what you want to go right on that day.
Absolutely. No, like I love these tools. And even when it comes to goal settings, there is actually a study that's being done on it as well, where they were showing that goals that not just being set as a goal, as an idea floating in the ether, but actually when people have written action plans and a written goal and an action plan, it's going to be like 10 times more powerful than the ones who just like thinking about a goal. And I was actually proving this to my group yesterday. It was really interesting. So we were working on goals. It's a new group at Princeton. And so I always liked starting with goal settings, and we were working on our mission statements within the goal settings. And I showed them that my mission statement I've created was back in 2021. And one of my goals on it was to move to the USA.
Oh,
yeah. And so I totally forgot about it, right? But with that, we were working out, like I was, like part of it as the written process, I was working out that why I actually wanted to move to the USA, like, because it's one thing that we want to have a goal, but like, what's the, underneath it all, let's dig deeper. And it was just still really fascinating to see, right, that I forgot that I already had that goal back in 2021 in writing, right? And then now here in 2023, I am in the USA and I'm pretty much, like achieved goals from back then. And if I wouldn't have written it down, I honestly don't think that I would have been, necessarily achieved it, because it's that unconscious mind that's helped us to achieve what we want.
Yeah, that documentation is really good, because you can start looking at synchronicities. You wrote that down, and then later that was a connection. Or sometimes we notice some parallel connections because you have written it down. What was that day? What was I thinking? How did that show up later? The fact that I wrote that down, how did that appear in my life? So these are good things to review for our personal development.
I absolutely agree. And I just thought that next week, I would love to dig into this subject a little bit even deeper, and maybe even talk about when it comes to tasks itself as well, and how to make tasks more achievable and be more productive and organized, simply with the power of writing.
That sounds great. I think most people can use to tweak their productivity.
I know, like even I could, even though I try to work as much as possible, right? But it's always something I can learn.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Well, thank you so much for everybody for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
We really do appreciate it. We hope that you learn something and you feel a little bit more rested and relaxed, and you actually start writing.
Yeah, and tell us about it. Probably some insights will come to you, and ask us what you would like us to explain and talk about things that we do to make our life more productive, putting in mindfulness all the time. Some of our favorite tools we're happy to share.
Indeed. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.